All right, today we are cracking open the engine that powers pretty much all of modern AI. In just the next few minutes, you're going to finally understand the three fundamental ways machines learn, and you'll know which one is behind the tech you're using every single day. So, what is the secret sauce? What's really driving all these incredible world-changing breakthroughs we keep hearing about? Well, the answer might not be what you think. I mean, just think about it for a second. How does Netflix just know what show you're going to end up binge watching all weekend? Or how about this one? How does your phone instantly recognize your face and only your face out of billions of people? It really feels like magic, doesn't it? But it's not. The answer to all of these questions is hiding inside what I like to call AI's secret engine. And right now, we're going to pop the hood and see exactly how this thing works. And here it is. The answer is machine learning. At its core, this is just the idea that systems can learn from data, they can identify patterns, and then make decisions with very little help from us humans. But machine learning is a huge, kind of intimidating term. The good news is it really just breaks down into three main ways of learning. And these three methods, they explain almost everything you see AI doing in the world today. It all comes down to this one simple number, 3. And here they are, the big 3. First, you've got supervised learning, which is a lot like a teacher guiding a student. Then there's unsupervised learning. Think of this as an AI playing detective, finding its own clues. And finally, reinforcement learning, which is basically a trial and error gamer, learning as it plays. Okay, that's the theory. So let's see what these methods actually look like out there in the wild. First up, supervised learning. The easiest way to think about this is like studying for a test with the answer key. You give the algorithm a ton of data that's already labeled with the right answers. It just studies all these examples over and over until it learns how to make the right call on new stuff it's never seen before. And trust me, you see this absolutely everywhere. Your email uses it to figure out what's spam. Zillow uses it to predict house prices. And yup, it's the tech behind facial recognition. And that brings us right back to the beginning. Apple's Face ID is the perfect example of supervised learning. It was trained on a massive database of labeled faces, so it could learn to pick out yours in a split second. Okay, next up is unsupervised learning. And this is where it gets, I think, really cool. Here, you give the AI a whole mess of data with no labels, no instructions, nothing. Its job is to be a detective, to just sort through the chaos and find hidden patterns and groups all by itself. This is the magic behind so many services you probably use every day. You know when Spotify makes you that Discover Weekly playlist that's just perfect? That's unsupervised learning clustering songs together. Retailers use the same idea to group customers with similar tastes. So when you're on Amazon and it says, hey, customers who bought this also bought that, yep, that's unsupervised learning grouping you with people who have similar shopping habits to suggest things you'll probably like too. And our third and final method is reinforcement learning. Honestly, the trial and error gamer analogy is perfect. You have an AI agent that learns by just doing things. It gets points or rewards for good moves, and it gets penalties for bad ones. Over time, it just figures out the best strategy to get the highest score. This is really the cutting edge. It's the brains behind self-driving cars, learning how to deal with tricky traffic situations, AIs that can beat the world's best Go players, and some seriously sophisticated robots. A great example is in a modern warehouse. These little robots use reinforcement learning to figure out the absolute fastest way to grab your package. They learn from every single trip, getting a little bit faster and a little bit smarter each time. So, we've gone through all the theory, but the real question is, how can you actually start playing around with this stuff? Look, the absolute best way to learn is by doing. Don't try to master all three at once. Just pick one method that sounds interesting to you, maybe start with supervised learning, and find a tiny project, like building a basic spam filter. The goal here isn't perfection. It's just to get your hands dirty and start building. Because at the end of the day, you can read about this stuff forever, but getting your hands on the keyboard and actually practicing, that's where the real learning happens. So don't be afraid to experiment. So, after all that, I gotta ask, which one of these are you drawn to? Are you into the structured teacher-student model, or the creative pattern detective work of unsupervised learning? Or maybe you're all about that trial and error gamer life with reinforcement learning?